Hello, Miss Asha. Thank you so much for having me. Great questions. Question number one is all about navigating some diabetes should. So, we'll go through lots of things. But first question you asked was when you start working with a new client, how often do you have to spend time kind of unraveling fake rules that have been ingrained in someone's head, either from a past provider or things that they've just learned along the way incorrectly? I guess I'd say, I don't know, a good initially maybe 50% is learning correct behaviors, learning correct things versus what people have been trying to do because that's what they've been taught. And our initial time spent is in assessing and talking through what are you doing, what seems to be working, and if it's working, then are the rules that you're following for why it's working correct? I think a lot of the rules that are incorrect are also things that haven't been gone over often enough, even things around like sick day management or using glucagon or those things that maybe aren't used as often or on a daily basis. And so those are a lot of the things that we end up needing to kind of unravel and kind of talk through in terms of the real rules that do tend to work the best. But I think it's also a little bit different person to person, and it really depends on where we're starting with someone when we begin our work together. And our initial visit, which is pretty lengthy, usually about 90 minutes, tends to bring forth a lot of those things that we really need to say, okay, let's talk through all of these. These are not the right ways to address what is happening. Let's unravel this. Let's kind of work through it. Let's move forward with more optimal settings, how to get them, how to manage through all of these different variables and things that are in the picture. Question number two is a great one. What are some of the common rules or shoulds that I hear about? And one of the most common rules that's incorrect that we often have to do a lot of work through is the idea that you have to entirely stop insulin delivery for exercise. It's an age-old rule of either suspend your pump or remove the pump for exercise, and your blood sugar is just going to be beautiful. So that's kind of a common rule that I often have to completely backtrack with and reestablish. I think another really important rule also around insulin is the timing of insulin, especially for meals. To start, the idea that our quote unquote rapid acting insulin today is really rapid, that it's right now, you take it and then you can start to eat immediately. And those of us that have, tried this method for the most part realize that that's not the case. Rapid doesn't indicate like immediate. It indicates it's a lot faster than the insulins that we used eons ago, that did take quite a long time to get working, but we still really need to give time between taking insulin for food and actually starting to eat. So that's another common rule that a lot of people either hear about from a provider and aren't doing correctly because they don't know any better. That we kind of have to unravel. And then the other one that goes along with that also is the active insulin time and this idea about stacking insulin. So many people have been told, well, don't add another, dose of rapid insulin after you've taken some for a meal. Well, that might be a good starting rule to avoid these ultra low blood sugars from taking too much. But then we bring into the picture correct dosing and strategy and really analyzing what someone's active insulin time is. And with that then comes the understanding of okay, it's, an hour and a half, 2 hours after my meal, and I'm sitting high or I'm going even higher. Shouldn't I be addressing this? Shouldn't I be taking care of this to do something about it? So there's a lot more kind of information that goes beyond just common rules and the basics. So, question number 3, what do you think makes people so resistant to trying new things in regards to their diabetes management? And I think the number one thing that stands out to me that do a lot of work with people in getting through and getting over is fear, honestly. When the majority of people are diagnosed with diabetes, and especially those with type 1 started on insulin immediately at diagnosis, one of the big factors that's put into their mind is you have to take insulin, but insulin, and this being a negative sort of association, but this insulin can also cause you to go low, and lows are bad and they are scary, and they can be. I don't, certainly say that that's not the case, but I think a big factor that causes people to be resistant to change truly is fear of using insulin. And to get through that, it takes education about what insulin does, its action time, what we can expect in certain circumstances. Are you sick? Do you have ketones? Are you exercising? All of these kind of variables in the picture help people to get through and over that fear once they really understand insulin in general. And that's a missed education point, I feel, from the get-go of diagnosis. You're told, how to take it, maybe even when to take it and how much to take it. And you've given all these ratios and things to do along with a glucose value. And then you're told about this like fear factor, right? The fear of, oh my goodness, if you go low, this and this and this could potentially happen. So I think that's a resistance piece. The other thing is that a lot of people who are resistant have been so because they haven't had good direction. They know that something isn't quite working, but it's not horrible. And they feel like, okay, well, I'm okay. But I know that I could be doing better. I don't know where to start. So the resistance is usually coming from a lack of good information, a lack of good education. And so a starting point is finding somebody who can really give you the right information for your individual life and needs. So question number 4, did you ever have an aha moment about switching something up or making a big change in how I do my diabetes management? And I think my biggest, and we had many over the years, but I think my biggest aha moments have come with exercise. And what I figured out initially and was working when I learned more about, again, insulin action and timing and the true impact of one type of exercise versus another. And I really started keeping notes and, recording information to go back and look at what worked and what didn't work. Those were some of my big aha moments. Oh, look, I did this and it looked a lot better. Or from a performance sort of perspective as an athlete, when I started running distance and doing cycling distance, not just your 5-mile ride, but like a 40-50 mile ride or a good 6, 10, 12 and plus mile run, I had to figure things out very differently. And my aha moments really came in when I started realizing that my performance was based on what I was putting into my body. And that itself had to then meet what I was doing for my diabetes management. So I had to start kind of switching up my mind thought. I was always thinking as a person with diabetes first. And in exercise, in anything that you choose and love to do, you have to think like an athlete first, actually. And you have to think, what does my body need so I can do the best that I can? I can get the results that I want out of this exercise that I'm choosing to do. And what I put into that then has to fit so that my blood sugar also stays where I want it to be and that I have a comfort level there. I think another big change that I made was when I went to college. I transitioned to a vegetarian diet or lifestyle, really. I had never really liked meat growing up, and I ate it only because my parents made it, and I ate what my parents told me to eat. And when I went to college, of course, I had all of my own things to choose and to be able to do. And I realized, kind of as an aha moment, I realized that I also do better with meat, specifically more the red meats and the chickens and the turkeys and those kinds of things. I realize that they don't serve me well in terms of how I feel, as well as in terms of blood sugar management. That's me. Everybody is a little bit different and manages things differently, but that was an aha moment for me. I felt better. I found things to meet the need of that missing like protein source in my body. And I found that my blood sugar worked a lot better for me that way. I tended to eat a lot more low glycemic types of vegetables and then fruits and, those types of things. And even beans worked a lot better for me. So that was another aha moment years ago that I realized this just works better for me.